The Nuzlocke is probably Pokemon's most popular challenge, but no one's been able to transfer it to Pokemon Go until today. The traditional Nuzlocke rules are you can only catch the first Pokemon you see on each route, and whenever a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and can no longer be used. I was able to transfer this to Pokemon Go using the Catch Cup. I can only catch the first 3 Pokemon I see, and then I'll use them in PvP. And if any of them faint, they must be transferred before my next battle. In order to win the Nuzlocke, I have to win at least 3 out of 5 battles in one set of PvP. But let's get started. The first eligible Pokemon I found was a Lickitung, which I was pretty excited about. Then I ran into some Pokemon that were too high CP and caught myself a Skitty. And then I looked around for a little bit, and the next one I found was a Snivy. So I caught him, and then I went in to battle, and I was pretty excited about my team here. I felt pretty good, but I did make the mistake of not powering them up. I didn't want to waste Stardust, but I reversed this later on because I realized going into this battle that without powering up to 500 CP, this was not going to work very well. But this first battle, Lickitung actually does pretty well. He's definitely the MVP of this set here in Go Battle League. So he does pretty well against Rapidash, but unfortunately he does fall and we lose him. And then my next 2 Pokemon get bodied pretty quickly by Rapidash. Rapidash takes out Skitty, and then of course Snivy is going to fall pretty fast with that type disadvantage. And so he sends out a Drifloon and also has the type advantage on Snivy, and so I try and put up a fight, but Snivy goes down pretty quickly. I prolongated it a little bit here with the Protect Shields, but I probably should have just let him go. But Snivy really does put up a pretty good fight. I actually wish I could have kept a Snivy for longer. I think it does pretty well. But he does eventually go down to Drifloon, and we lose our first set. So we have to go through and unfortunately transfer all 3 of these guys. We didn't get to keep any of them, which is a bummer. And we go on to our next set. And so we catch Jinx, which I'm pretty excited about. And I've decided here that I really need to power up my Pokemon all the way to 500 CP. And so I do go through and do that with the following Pokemon that I catch. I was able to get a Shadow Gothita here, which I was pretty excited about. I thought might do well. And then I went on and was able to catch Hippopotas, which I was really excited about. I then bit the bullet and I spent all the Stardust to power these guys up to 500 CP. A couple of them were pretty cheap, like Hippopotas. Others, like Gothita, cost me more Stardust than I would like to admit. But I got them up to as high as it could go, and I was feeling pretty good about my chances here in this battle. I thought the team would do pretty well. I decided to lead with Jinx because I figured it was a pretty good all-around start, and I think I was right about that. Jinx does really well against this Meryl here, and we decided to use the Protect Shield because I don't want to lose Jinx. I'm pretty wary after my last battle of losing all my Pokemon, and so I'm pretty heavy on the Protect Shields here, which might be a bad strategy long term, but I was pretty nervous about losing Pokemon. Jinx takes down the first one, and then I was pretty excited about Snorlax because Jinx has Focus Blast, but unfortunately he switches to Shuckle, which really is my undoing. I wanted to save Jinx, so I switched to Gothita, which was a bad move because Gothita gets absolutely bodied by Shuckle here. And so I lose Gothita, and I thought about going into Jinx, but I wanted to save her, and I make my second mistake here of going into Hippopotas. Hippopotas is actually kind of a beast. He's got Body Slam and he's pretty tanky. And so he is able to lower Shuckle quite a bit here. And we're doing pretty well. But then he switches into Snorlax. And I actually feel like Hippopotas could take him. So I stay in. And Hippopotas keeps going. And he almost gets him down. But Hippopotas does fall. And then Body Slam takes out Jinx. And so Hippopotas falls, switches out, Jinx falls, and then he almost beats Shuckle. So I did lose there, but I felt a lot better about my chances. I had to transfer all 3, which was a bummer, but we were a lot closer that time than last time. So now I start looking, and I'm feeling pretty confident that I can win a couple more and hopefully get 3 out of 5. Right, I've lost the first 2, but if I can win the next 3, then we're able to pass this challenge. And so I catch an Alomola, and then an Elgium, and then Rattata, who turns out to be an absolute beast. I've never thought I would spend as much Stardust powering up a Rattata as I did, but it was worth it because he really comes in clutch here in this battle. Elgium comes out with a pretty bad start against a Sableye, so I was pretty worried about that. I don't have the best counter to Sableye. And looking back, I should have just let Sableye probably take out Elgyem, but he switched, and he switched into a Bagon, which was actually pretty good for me because Alomola, which is kind of exhausting to say, is able to do really well against this Bagon. Bagon's got a fire move, and so Alomola resists it very well. And so we use a Protect Shield there because I want to keep Alomola in, and we're able to Waterfall Bagon down pretty well here. And so I decided to keep him in and try and charge up my charge move even more here. And I made the mistake of clicking it a little bit too early. I was worried about getting knocked out, and I should have left it, and that maybe would have made a better difference here. But I was worried I might lose Alomola too quick. And there she falls, and I switch into Elgyem, who's able to take out this Diglett pretty quickly. And so I'm feeling really good here. He's going to go back in with Sableye, which is pretty dangerous because he destroys my Elgyem pretty quickly. But then Rattata comes in, and Rattata goes absolutely beast mode. I did not think that a Rattata would be my most useful Pokemon in this Nuzlocke, but I think he definitely has been the MVP overall. Since he has such a low base CP, it took me a lot of Stardust, surprisingly, to power him up to 500 CP, but he's able to do really well here. He just tanks pretty much everything, and as you will see here in a moment, he's able to take down this Sableye. And so I'm feeling pretty good at this moment. Right? I lost the first two battles, but I come out on top here in battle number 3. Rattata brings the win, and I'm super excited because I do not have to transfer all of my Pokemon this time. I do have to transfer Alomola, which is unfortunate, and Elgyem, and so I transfer them, but I'm able to keep Rattata. And I decide to then go ahead and keep catching Pokemon. I get a Zubat next, who also turns out to be pretty good. He cost me, I think, 50,000 Stardust to power up, which hurt quite a lot. But I did it, and then I caught an Onyx, and I was pretty excited about this team. I saw what Rattata could do, and I thought that Zubat and Onyx might be pretty similar. And so I was feeling really good about this battle. I came in and came against a Shieldon, which I was a little bit worried about, because I know it's a pretty tanky Pokemon, but Onyx was doing fairly well against him. Right? I think we were maybe at a slight disadvantage, but it wasn't drastic. And then his charge move hardly did anything to Onyx, and so I was feeling very confident then. We were able to get a shield, and we were able to tank his moves pretty well. I didn't want to lose Onyx, but I was willing to sacrifice him for the good of the team if I was able to get a win. But I was able to get off 2 Rock Tombs, which I was really excited about, and that was able to take out Ghastly, get rid of one of his Protect Shields, and then he goes in, and I decide to send out Zubat, which I think is my fatal mistake here. I probably should have gone with Rattata, because Zubat does not do much damage here against Volibile. We're able to go pretty close, but the charge move for Zubat is just too slow, and we get kind of annihilated there. So I go into Rattata, and we're able to take down Volibile, and then he sends out Shieldon, and I thought I had this one in the bag, but unfortunately, Rattata just can't handle it. The Rock Tomb from Shieldon is a little too much. I planned poorly with my Protect Shields, and we lose Rattata there. So that was a little bit of a bummer. I was feeling pretty bummed, but I wanted to see if maybe we could come out with one more win, and then I thought maybe we'd try one more battle afterwards if we got another win, just because the first battle we didn't power up with Stardust. So I go through, we get a Pawmi, we get a Tepig, and then we get a Magnemite. And so I'm feeling pretty excited about this team. I think it's pretty unique and could actually do really well. I'm a little worried about the double electric type, that I might run into a ground type Pokemon and get kind of bodied here. But I'm excited, and I think I have a pretty good chance. And so I go into this final battle, and it takes a little while to load, but we come in, and we have a pretty poor start of Tepig against Panpour. So I was pretty worried, and I transferred immediately into Pawmi, who starts to body Panpour, and he goes into Pansage. And so I knew that Pansage would resist my moves, but I was feeling pretty good because I have Tepig, who I thought had a fire move, but then turns out I think he just has Tackle. But I was still feeling pretty good because I figured he had just the 3 monkey Pokemon, and I thought that I could probably handle the other ones. But then I was wrong, and instead of Pansear, he sends out a Nidoqueen. And so I was worried there. Nidoqueen is part ground. Magnemite only has electric type moves, and so Nidoqueen bodies us pretty good. And I mean, Magnemite, I'll give him credit, does some work. Right, Magnemite is able to take out a Nidoqueen at the type disadvantage, which is really impressive. Magnemite turned out to be a great Pokemon, but then just barely falls to Panpour. And with that, I failed the Nuzlocke. I only won 1 out of 5 battles. So this challenge was a little bit harder than I expected, but I do believe it is still possible. And so if you enjoyed this, please hit that subscribe button and feel free to try this challenge out for yourself. And if you're able to beat it, let me know in the comments section down below or tag me in a video you make. And then check out my video right here about how well AI does in the Pokemon Go Battle League.